Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Train Simulator Classic, aka Railworks. Today we're going to be taking a look at VictoryWorks GWR Manor class 460s. These can be purchased from Steam Sounds Supreme. Highly recommend going and checking them out. But this noisy thing is going to come past us. But, yeah. Figured this be a cool one to take a peek at today, because I've been tinkering around with the World War stuff for giggles and squiggles. And the VictoryWorks packs on Steam Sound Supreme, they come with a lot of the World War flak cars and loads and such. So I picked this one up. I've been tinkering around with it. I've been having a lot of fun with it, I think. So I thought we'd go ahead and take a look at it. So these are the GWR Manors. They were the first batch were built from 1938 to 1939. A second batch of them were built by British Rail in 1950. I believe another 10. But 21 total were built, if I remember correctly, and 9 are preserved today, which is pretty cool, honestly. It's pretty rare that a classic locomotive has a pretty good chunk of its original build number surviving today. But as I said, these are made by VictoryWorks, and as is pretty typical with VictoryWorks locomotives, there's a lot of bells, whistles, and such that can be changed on them. A lot of different settings, different additions, bunch of different variations. So I've got some of them here. I don't have all of them. This video would be obnoxiously long if I had all of them. But I think I got enough down to represent what's going to come in the pack. So you are going to get a GWR standard. So as they were in operation, you will get a GWR preserved, which is what we will be using for our test bed today. You will get a BR in clean black with lined and unlined variants, and you will get a BR weathered, which the weathering looks really quite nice. I mean, it looks like a very worn out locomotive. So let's hop back over. Now, as I said, some of the details can be changed whenever you place these locomotives down in a scenario. How do I describe it? Whenever you place a locomotive down, you'll double click on it. It'll pull out the little side window, and it'll give you a list of different codes and such you can change, or different things that are changeable by number and or letter. It's not the first time we've looked at something like that before. Go back and watch some of my other videos if you want to figure out how to do that. But you can change the headboards, the locomotive code, train code, of course the number. You can choose whether or not, or you can choose the logo. So like right here we've got the little, call it the shirt button, I believe, GWR logo on the tender, or as you can see over here, you can have the full-blown GWR lettering. And this one we've got without the headboard up on top. But you can add stanchions to the tender for an awning, which we don't have over here. I pretty much added all the options I could to this one and didn't add the options to this one, so you can kind of see what you can and can't, or what you can change around. So like the tender, awning, the preserved, and I believe the BR models, you can You can add a speedometer too, which we have here. You can also add an ATC device, which I opted not to in our test bed because I don't want to hear that buzzer going off constantly. But let's see. I thought I added an ATC on one of these. I did. So you can add or take away the ATC. Now, granted, the ATC will only function if it's a route that is ATC enabled. So it's got the little scenario markers all through the tracks. If those are not present, the ATC is pretty much just an extra item in the cab. It doesn't do anything, but you can choose whether or not to remove it. For the BR locomotives, you can choose whether or not to have the nameplates over the fenders here. So as you can see on our weathered variant, we don't have the nameplate here. One of the things that will change with the later BR locomotives is these locomotives got upgraded later on by BR because as they were built, they were very poorly designed. Maybe I don't want to say that per se, but some design flaws. I guess that's how we could put it. Some design flaws kind of stamped the potential that these locomotives had at the beginning. So they were a bit underpowered. They didn't steam very well for GWR, but later on BR, when BR took over, they got a breathing moment. They took a step back, looked at them, said, hey, here's what can be improved. They implemented those improvements and essentially remedied the big issues that they had under GWR. So they got a slightly larger firebox grate area, I believe. They got a narrowed smokestack, some other wacky items that I have no idea what they go to, but that is pretty fairly represented. As you can see with our worn variant here, we painfully obvious it's got a narrowed stack versus the wider stack of the original variant. Shoot, what else can I point to? But yeah, along with those, you'll get a set of flat cars. So you get an unloaded and loaded variant of... Oh, I gotta pull up my notepad because I don't know what these are called. Huh. Oh, of course I didn't. I didn't write it down. Oh well. You'll get a couple flat cars. Unloaded, loaded with lumber, and then a loaded and unloaded with a ship's propeller, which that's pretty darn cool. And then, so these cars do not come with it. These are here just kind of for the giggles and squiggles. I wanted a slightly heavier train so the locomotive could actually work a little bit. But if you want some more rolling stock to kind of fit with what comes with these, with this pack, the War Department 280s and 210Os come with a very nice selection, as you can see here. So yeah, these locomotives are also fitted with the scripting that works with Victory Works. What is it called? The advanced braking, which is different from Smokebox advanced braking. These guys, it works in conjunction with their brake vans. So certain whistle codes will tell the brakeman whenever to release the handbrake or apply the handbrake. Now that only works with Victory Works brake vans, but it is a cool feature if you have, say, the Prairies or any of the other packs that come with the GWR brake vans. It also works with a couple other cars that Victory Works has done, so it's kind of a neat feature. But let's dive into it. Now, there is a simple mode, there's a standard mode, there's an advanced mode. Simple mode, you can drive with the F4 HUD. Standard mode is that intermediate where you still got to manage your fire, still got to manage your water, but it's not too terribly in depth. Advanced mode, it's like a like pro line stuff. Matter of fact, let's set our tracks up here before I take off and run into anything I shouldn't. There we go. Sometimes switches on this route are not set up well, but it's time there. But let's get rid of that. So in advanced mode, these locomotives are very much a challenge. So definitely read the manual before you dive into these, because you will get frustrated if you don't, because they are absolutely a pro line per se model if you try to drive them in advanced mode. So things like damper positions, your braking setup, throttle, all of that, it operates very differently from the simple and the intermediate or standard modes. There goes our safeties. Our safeties are very loud. But in advanced mode, some of the things that you'll have to pay attention to are your lubricator, which is simulated. It's not simulated quite the same way as one would expect, kind of like with the New Zealand JAs and the KBs. Those lubricators are very different, or say smoke boxes lubricators. Those operate very differently. But these lubricators are modeled. You do have to pay attention to them if you are operating in advanced mode. So let's see, what do they call it? A jockey valve. Another feature of the advanced mode is the jockey valve on the regulator, which needs to be opened to continue pumping oil around the moving parts of the engine using the hydrostatic lubricator. If the engine is moving, you must make sure that the regulator is open slightly to ensure that steam is passing into the lubricator to pass oil around the engine. Now, in real life, there would be a physical notch on the throttle to help the driver align the regulator, but unfortunately that cannot be simulated in train simulators. So they have a keybind to correct the location where no steam will be passing to the cylinders, but will still operate the lubricator, and that is Shift A. Now, as you can see, our lubricator starts to work, starts to push oil. You can adjust the speed of the drops using the sight glass valves. Now, for some wacky reason, the hand won't show up to show that you can fiddle with these, but you can. You just have to click on them. So it should be about 4 drops, or it should be a drop every 4 seconds. So pretty usual for that. We got our reverser gear. In advanced mode, you do have to unlock it with the E key and then push it forward. We got our sanders, rear and front. If it is wet in advanced mode, you will need these sanders with a heavy train. This shouldn't be too terribly heavy, so you shouldn't need them, but for giggles and squiggles, they are modeled. We'll open it to kind of show it. So they are modeled, they do operate. Very nice sounds, very nice audio. I like it. Our firebox is simulated. For those of you that like to drive without any HUD whatsoever, the firebox level is simulated. They do say it's exaggerated a little bit so that you can visually tell kind of where the fire sits. So right now, if we pull up the F4 HUD or the F5 HUD, you can see we're sitting at about 840 pounds. I believe that's roundabout, actually, not that bad. So, if you want to get the white hot, what you do, or if you want to visually see what ends up happening, is you can either A, get it low, which is around 41%, I believe, so somewhere like 400 pounds or something like that. The grading will be present. The firebox level will, the coal level here will pretty much disappear. At pretty normal, we're sitting at about 800 to 1,000 pounds. It will show the coal level, fire's covered, the grading's covered, and then at heavy load, so at around 1,200-ish pounds, the grading will be completely covered. The coals will be white hot. The coal level will be pretty high, and that is controllable by using the shovel. Now, why it doesn't want to work right now, I don't know, but you can use the R key. The R key will allow you to. Oh, there it is. The hitbox is in a wacky spot. But depending on how high up or how far down you bring the shovel, it depends on how much coal is thrown in. It does simulate that accurately. So the sounds are synchronized, and the coal load does go in by the shovelful, so it goes up by the shovelful. So that is very cool. So we'll build it up to about 1,000 pounds. That should be pretty good. So things like your seats are able to be toggled. You can open and close them. The windows can be opened on either side. And of course, there's a view for the firebox, there's a view for the water glass, fireman's view, and head out on either side. Your firemen can get tired out, so do keep that in mind. In advanced mode, these cylinder cocks are very important. You can blow out the cylinders if you do not open them after the locomotive has been sitting a little bit. It will have water built up in the cylinders, and that pressure will cause the cylinders to essentially explode. Not in quite the same way one would expect, but it will damage the locomotive. So before taking off, always open your cylinder cocks. Cylinder cocks are closed now, so whenever you spawn in, they are typically open. I have noticed that a lot with VictoryWorks products. Let's get rid of that. Pull that one back up. Now, as I said, in advanced mode, the braking is advanced. We are not using oh, are we? Actually, hold up. Yeah, we are. Wonder if it'll work. Let's see. I gotta pull up my list again. Active guard. That's what VictoryWorks calls it. The active guard system. If you're using one of their guard one of their guard vans. So. The low tone is the B key. Now, it's supposed to have a short. But it really doesn't. It has a loop to it, and I don't like it. I don't like any whistle that has a loop to it, truth be told. It sounds good, but that loop kind of ruins the whole idea of three short blasts to request the guard to put on the handbrake, and 6 short blasts to take off the handbrake. As you heard, those were not short, and that was just me tapping the B key. So It is kind of hard to judge with that, but such is life, as some would say. You can change the headlight, which will change, of course, the code, which will pop up over here. So like right now it shows it's a fully fitted express passenger, which definitely is not the case. But control 1 and 2 will change the headlight codes. So I think this would count as an unfitted, because I do not believe these cars are fitted with vacuum brakes, so that should be the right code. But control 1 through 4, right? Oops, why? There. Control 1 through 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, control 1 through 4 will change the headlights to their different codes. So there's that. Of course, we have our injectors, both live and exhaust. Now those are simulated in advanced mode the right and proper way as well. So you will have to kind of juggle using the different valves to get the proper setting to actually put water into the boiler. Otherwise, you will either not have enough pressure, which will pour water out of the tender, which we can simulate. Let's see. It is a little bit dark, so it's hard to see, but there's our handbrake. There it is. Where is it? There. So you open it, it'll make that water sound, and you'll see water pouring out of the overflow here, and then you'll have to kind of play. So like that's too much. Shouldn't be hissing like that. Now I'm not pouring any water into the boiler whatsoever. That isn't enough. Right there is perfect. So now we're pushing water into the boiler. So just a heads up before anybody gets frustrated. Should have a water scoop. Water scoop is lowered now. 8 key. There we go. It is a bit dark under here, so it's kind of hard to tell, but there is the water scoop right there. Unfortunately, the hitbox is way off. Go ahead and shut off our injectors. What else? What else is simulated properly? The dampers, of course. Those are a thing. So you got an exhaust injector, dampers, front and rear. The where those are set does make a difference. So let's see. Whistles. Of course, that does tell you. You have 2 different whistles. You have the guard whistle and the standard whistle. Standard whistle. They do have a little bit of a loop, so that is me just tapping the space bar. So they do have a bit of a loop. If you hold control space, you will get multiple kind of different little short playable whistles. Let's see, what else do we have? What was I supposed to be looking for? Oh yeah, I was supposed to be looking for the dampers. So in advanced mode there are 2 dampers. Left hand is the front, right hand is the rear. Each has 3 notches, closed, half, and full. To get the maximum amount of air to keep the locomotive running well, you will need to set the damper in the opposite direction of travel to fully open. So we are running forwards, so we will want the rear damper fully open. So we'll partially close the front, just for giggles and squiggles. There's sight glass. Now, I don't know why, but if you zoom in on the sight glass, I think it's because the lantern here is supposed to look kind of like a lantern, like a lamp. I don't believe these are electric, so I think it's supposed to look like a flickering light, but it does this thing here, which is a bit odd, but not too terribly noticeable. So, to kill the brakes, you gotta turn your brake lever over, and then dump the pressure in the brakes. So as you can hear, the cylinder cocks are loud. Go ahead and start pulling our reverse gear back. Really good sounding locomotive. I believe the speed limit's around 45. Gonna want a little bit of brake pressure because we are going downhill. Pull our reverse gear back just enough. So let's run up here, get us a good little flyby. Ah, balls. It does take a little bit to fiddle with the brakes. They are tricky to tinker with and get just right, especially if you're trying to do shots like this. Advanced mode is really hard to do. It's definitely meant for you to stay kind of in the cab, but looks like our speedometer is actually on par. Now it does have a little bit of wiggle, but that's alright. That's right and proper. These speedometers are not like your modern car. They wiggle. These do have modeled valve gear inside. It's very hard to see, but as you can, if you look at it at just the right angle, you can see the valve gear, which is properly modeled. It looks really good. Since we are under power, I can kind of live injectors. About there. Our water level does wiggle a bit as they're under motion, which is really cool. So you gotta kind of, if you like to run without the F5 HUD at all, you kind of got to judge off of that, because it will wobble depending on uphill, downhill motion, whatever. I want to keep that lubricator running there. So, let's go ahead and start pulling on some brakes. These do have the wheel slip simulated, which I unfortunately, I don't have enough of a train to really show it. So it's, but if you had a heavy enough load, it would show that it would slip. The ambient is very nice. It's got a nice idle sound to it. Kind of coast. Really nice braking sounds. I like the braking sounds a lot. So yeah, VictoryWorks' GWR Manor class. Definitely go check them out on Steam Sound Supreme. I believe they're like 14 euros, somewhere around that. So like 16 bucks US dollars, somewhere around that area. $15, $16. Definitely worth checking out. It is really a nice locomotive overall. I have a lot of fun with it. I've been enjoying it a lot. I find it to be a nice challenge, but not too terribly challenging, so you're not feeling overwhelmed like some of the other locomotives that are available. They run nice, they look good, they sound awesome. It's one of the few times I can honestly say a locomotive straight out of the box sounds really, really, really good. But that is kind of expected. Steam Sound Supreme is noted in their manual, so I imagine they had a hand in helping them with the sound work, and they're quite well known for their sound. So, but overall modeling is really, really nice, as is again very typical with VictoryWorks. Their modeling is almost always really nice. The detailing is really nice. But yeah, definitely go check it out. It is 100% worth the money, in my opinion. As always, I'll put the link in the description, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Something a little different for me, but I enjoy it. So until next time, I will see you guys later.